So welcome to the Practitioner Training. I'm happy that you're here. Sure, absolutely. And so today we have the theme, or the part of the manual for teachers that says tolerance. That's the title of the class. So that's interesting, tolerance. So we're going to look at that. And there are some great references in the course related to it, because basically, say 60-70% is about not judging and not doing those kind of things. Learning not to do that, or coming into a different awareness that you see that you cannot do that. That's basically it. So today I would love to start with a bit of relaxation, a bit of meditation. So I invite you to breathe, to relax. Let everything be for what it is. Let your thoughts go, let your ideas go, let your concerns go, or maybe just be still for a moment and see what pops up in your mind, what still is attracting your attention, and just dislodge from it, because you don't need it right now. So what are you thinking? What is going on in you? Can you be quiet? Can you be still? Can you see the thoughts still popping up in your mind, but just you decided not to pay attention to it in terms of engaging with it, or interacting with it, or pursuing a thought and wandering away? So no, you just stay right here. Stay right here. Yeah, you feel immediately the expansion that's going on when you do so. So it's like, that feels already better. I don't have to do that. Especially not in this hour. You will not have to do that. So it's like, this is your time off from your mind that is exhausting you the whole day. So now let it go. You don't need to do anything with it. You just come into this place of pure awareness and of stillness, because that is what is always there, and that's where you can trust more and more in, because of its availability and its constancy. So that's the invitation for right now. So it's important to breathe deeply into your belly, so that you include everything in. Also fear, if that's present. If you breathe into your belly, you make contact with it. So it's literally, you open this channel in you where communication is like possible. So light can come into your system, and you open up your gateway, so to speak. So relax and move around if you feel like doing that. And then immediately also, when you sink a little deeper, you feel feelings of gratitude. Like, oh God, I'm so happy to do this. Oh, I'm so happy that I have the possibility to enter into this stillness and into the place where my certainty abides. Wow, that's amazing. Undisturbed by anything, it cannot be disturbed. It is always there. You can take away your attention from it, but that's all. Yeah, so there's light, there's love, there's extension, there's communication. That's just here for you to enjoy. Yeah, sure. And you release whatever you can. If you feel something coming up, like feelings or whatever it is, release it. Just let it go. Let it flow out of you, however it presents itself. So you're starting to come into a natural rhythm, almost like a pulsation in you. It goes up and down. It contracts and it expands, just like the breathing that you do. Excuse me. It's like this beautiful rhythm that's always there. It's a movement. So you can feel that. Maybe you feel that too. It's like, oh, here's my crown is opening up. Like, yeah, there's light coming in. The crown on the top of your head. Like there's light coming in. You breathe, literally, you start to breathe in light instead of air. And you don't use your lungs for breathing. It just seems that way. It's like, no, it's your spine. It's just energy pulsating into the universe instead of this contracted, limited idea of myself. Like, whoa, there's no end to it. So if it's easy for you, you can focus, and maybe you can put your hand there on your third eye here, right on your forehead. And maybe breathe to it. And holding it for just a second, maybe just massaging it lightly. So if you focus your attention there, you also see that there's no end to it, that you can literally go in it. So we go to your throat. How is your throat? It's like your throat chakra or your energy field there. Wow, does it feel open? Wow. And going to your heart center. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so it might help to open up your chest a little bit when you breathe into it. So you sink still a little deeper to just above your navel, your belly button. We say navel in Dutch, navel, belly button, just above it. So there's also an energy field, apparently. You can feel that too. See, that light just goes there naturally. So below that, below your belly button, there's a center too. That one you know really well, because if something is not really working out and you feel like a pain in your belly or something, it's mostly from there. So something is just blocking your openness, or something is just needs to be released. And then right beneath the idea, say between your sit bones, there's another energy field, which is really like the root of your energy field. So you can breathe to that too. And open it up, open the contact, the communication with it. Yeah, I just call it energy field. Some call it chakra or whatever. But it's like, no, there's something there that you can really connect with, same as at the top of your head. So now this energy is pulsating between the root of your energy field and the top of it. But basically it's just like, yeah, it's contracting, it's expanding, it's contracting and it's expanding. It just flows right through. All right. See, all of this is just awareness. It's not that we're doing anything. It's more like, oh yeah, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I can feel that. Or, I don't know. That's fine too. Like in all of this, it's not a matter of forcing, but allowing and noticing, discovering. Wow, thank you. That's great. All right, so you can open your eyes again if you feel like doing that. And the rest is taking care of itself. It does not stop, It's like, no, it's okay, you're alive, yeah. It's all fresh in your awareness. It's right here. So, let me see. I begin with the last thing I wanted to do. So that is in the teacher's manual, the very end of it, there is a piece that I want to read a couple of paragraphs from, because it tells you about the manual for teachers. So it's almost like an epilogue. As for the rest, it's called. And it's 443 of the manual for teachers in the urtext. And yeah, in the blue book, forget it. I really don't know, because I have a different edition of the blue book. As for the rest, the 30th part of the volume 3, Manual for Teachers.
Okay, and then what number?
30, you see, as for the rest, it says. So you do A1 if you want, A1.
Okay. Sure. This manual is not intended to answer all questions which both teacher and pupil may raise. And in fact, it covers only a few of the more obvious ones in terms of a brief summary of some of the major concepts in the text and workbook. It is not a substitute for either, but merely a supplement. While it is called a manual for teachers, it must be remembered that only time divides teacher and pupil, so that the difference is temporary by definition. In some cases, it may be helpful for the pupil to read the manual first. Others might do better to begin with the workbook. Still, others may need to start at the more abstract level of the text.
Which is for whom? Who would profit more from prayers alone? Who needs but a smile, being as yet unready for more? No one should attempt to answer these questions alone. Surely no teacher of God has come this far without realizing that. The curriculum is highly individualized, and all aspects are under the Holy Spirit's particular care and guidance. Ask and he will answer. The responsibility is his, and he alone is fit to assume it. To do so is his function. To refer the questions to him is yours. Would you want to be responsible for decisions about which you understand so little? Be glad you have a teacher who cannot make a mistake. His answers are always right. Would you say that of yours?
So that's great. That's great. That's very, very clear. I will go through it later on.
There is another advantage, and a very important one, in referring decisions to the Holy Spirit with increasing frequency. Perhaps you have not thought of this aspect, but its centrality is obvious. To follow the Holy Spirit's guidance is to let yourself be absolved of guilt. It is the essence of the atonement. It's the core of the curriculum. The imagined usurping of functions not your own is the basis of fear, making fear inevitable. To return the function to the one to whom it belongs is thus the escape from fear. And it is this that lets the memory of love return to you. Do not then think that following the Holy Spirit's guidance is necessary merely because of your own inadequacies. It is the way out of hell for you.
All right.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm happy to know now. That's lovely. So here's the next one. I'll read that because this is really great too. Here again is the paradox, often referred to in the Course, to say, of myself I can do nothing, is to gain all power. And yet it is but a seeming paradox. As God created you, you have all power. The image you made of yourself has none. The Holy Spirit knows the truth about you. The image you made does not. Yet despite its obvious and complete ignorance, this image assumes it knows all the things because you have given that belief to it. Such is your teaching and the teaching of the world which was made to uphold it. But the teacher who knows the truth has not forgotten it. His decisions bring benefit to all, being wholly devoid of attack, and therefore incapable of arousing guilt. So the reason that I wanted to read this, I will stop right here because otherwise we keep reading, and that's not what we're here for right now. So this part is really interesting. That's why I put it in there. See, to use the manual for teachers is very specific also, because it's like an instruction to a certain degree. But you can see, and this is what I discovered too when I started reading tolerance, for instance, this little paragraph. Like that's a very short paragraph about something really important. But it's more like, okay, this is just a summing up of all the differences, of all the different aspects, characteristics of the teacher of God, which is like a summary of what's been worked on in the textbook and in the lessons. So that makes it complete, you know. But then also use the manual in a certain way, and you don't know how to do that, so you will have to ask for help, even how to use this. And of course, that's what I do before I even begin doing this class. It's like, okay, so I had no idea how to start this, but some aspects of it are so, say, coming up. And this is certainly one of them. So in the practice that we find ourselves in the awakening practice, like now really going for it, in also in this class, like, this is an advanced class in that sense, because you're really looking at okay, so now I heard about it, I read it, but actually I want to start to apply this in a complete way, because it's helpful, and I want to discover how that works for myself. So that is what we do when we come together here. So that's why it's really important to see the aspect that's being mentioned here is then the idea of coming to the place where you actually see of my own self, I cannot do anything, and it's not necessary that I know in that sense, because what is necessary for me will be given to me. Like, I'm instructed all the time. I'm receiving cues how to do things all the time. So in my not knowing is the whole knowledge. because I basically say, I step aside, you show me, because I have no idea. I don't know what's the best for everyone involved. I am not used to thinking in totality yet. So this is like coming to the place where you discover your whole mind at work. And that's all that has to, that has everything to do with healing and communication. So that's in fact what so it's not a little thing. It's like, that's pretty amazing what we're actually up to in this class, in coming together this way, in this very intimate, very specific way of communicating together. Really doing this to receive the benefit of it for us all. Like, that's a beautiful intention that this has. So I'm really happy that you join in that, because of the intention that it has and the discoveries we make. So I was not planning, for instance, at the start of this class to enter into the idea of energy fields. That just happened spontaneously. I went with that flow just because it was given me to do it that way. So this is like, this is how you meet someone too. If somebody comes up to you and you wonder what you're supposed to do, well, at least you stand not in the way. So you keep yourself open for the connection, and I'm you're very much watchful. You're very much present, and whatever opening you see that seems to be, say, useful, you will use. Like, you start to discover the language of the one that you're with, or the one that's coming to you. So like here the example is then, for some it's enough to just smile, or for some it's okay to read a bit, or to tell about, like, okay, well, I don't know how it is for you, but for me it is like this. So you come with your story and somebody picks it up, or is like, okay, well, that's great for you, but I have no interest. It can even be like that. Or people are so open to receive this, and then in 2 years you will not see them again, because that was enough for them at that point. That's fine too. Like, but the being present in the moment together, and being watchful about, okay, what am I supposed to say and how am I supposed to do this, is a beautiful way of way for yourself to come in touch with this subtle communication, in which everything is effectively used to give light, to give expansion, to give healing. So that's why I thought, like, oh, that's so great to read this, because we get ourselves, like Peg said the other day, it's like we get ourselves into these situations where actually people start to ask you something, or you walk up against someone, or who knows what happens, how you do that. So this is the application, the demonstration of this, what we read and what we practice and what we try to apply, or what is given us to use, So if you have a question or you want to interrupt, please do so, because you can't interrupt. It's all right. Yeah. So that might be totally appropriate in the moment. So another thing then, what is being said here is the idea of pupil and teacher. So that's really interesting too, because you can't believe that the roles change. You're accustomed to a teacher that knows and the pupil that, It's like, no, actually it's also the other way around. It's literally like you enable me, you give me the opportunity to teach like this. And that's really how it works. Like, if your ears weren't open to receive this, I would not be able to teach it, because that's how this communication goes. That's the same as, okay, for some I smile at someone and I'm completely open to go for more, so to speak, to have a deeper communication. If that isn't picked up, okay, that's fine. But see, if there is a possibility and you are you step right into that, then you don't know where it ends. It's like, that's beautiful, so let it happen, and trust what's going on, even though you come into places that you don't even know yourself, that you never expected yourself to express that way, or to heal that way. So this is interesting. So don't think that you have to say separate the two off, like teacher pupil, or patient and therapist, or however you want to call it. Like, no, that's not how this works, and that's really interesting. So that means that that what you bring in is also for me to work with, or to go through, or to so it's totally interactive. Everything is being used. That's the beauty of it. Oh yeah, so I wanted to relate this because it talks here about guilt. So I want to relate it to the idea of judgment, because that is like the tolerance story in today. So tolerance is then completely associated or based on the idea that you cannot judge. That is what tolerance is. Like, you cannot judge. You have a habit of judging, and this is how the human mind, how our minds work when you listen to them. But in the end, you can't judge because it is based on nothing. And so that's the same with the idea of guilt. Like, if you have a belief that you're guilty, it means also for yourself that you decide for yourself, okay, I don't want like spiritual communication because I'm guilty. So you literally will not experience it. And as soon as you give up the idea, you see that something is opening up, and wow, what was I thinking? I don't have to do it this way. So I'm just touching this like superficially right now, because in the other part that I want to read and want to use and bring into this moment together is the idea of still a part of 28, the present memory. See, that's all beautifully related, and that's incredible if you discover it. So that's why I want to give that to you too. And maybe on the way to it, I will stop for a moment at tolerance and read that, since we're in the manual for teachers right now. So tolerance, I'll read that to you. God's teachers, that's on page 426. God's teachers do not judge. To judge is to be dishonest, for to judge is to assume a position you do not have. Judgment without self-deception is impossible. Judgment implies that you have been deceived in your brothers. How then could you not have been deceived in yourself? Judgment implies a lack of trust. And trust remains the bedrock of the teachers of God's whole thought system. Let this be lost and all his learning goes. Without judgment are all things equally acceptable. For who could judge otherwise? Without judgment are all men brothers. For who is there who stands apart? Judgment destroys honesty and shatters trust. So no teacher of God can judge and hope to learn. So that's great, isn't it? That's pretty complete. So just to stand still for a moment with this, is like, you cannot judge. So see, in the communication that I just was talking about with you, meeting someone as an example, as a beautiful example, because then actually you're in action as the teacher of God. You're in action as the Son of God, because you recognize your healing function in the communication that's going on. So then to relinquish all judgment and to just, no matter what you hear, see, or think, drop all of that and sink into your heart, basically. Sink into the place where you actually can feel and be open. At least not one in which you contract. So that is, all the learning that takes place is also to do with that. Because in the moments that you start to judge, or in the moments that you irritate yourself at someone, or confirming an idea that is not true because of the social engagement that you're in, you start to lose the trust also in yourself, and actually you start to put out an attack to your brother, because you're fooling yourself. You're being, in that sense, dishonest to yourself. You know that's not true what you say, and you know that you do this to achieve something. It's like you have a goal to achieve in that communication. That's not necessary. So that's really like a sacrifice of yourself that you do that. So here, tolerance then is to stay out of that, to see that you really cannot judge, and to see that you don't have to sacrifice your stillness and your peace for anything. So that means that you literally skip this social law of how to react or how to do altogether, because you're basically staying in your peace. Like, well, whatever anyone is telling you, it just falls down like that, and you start to really make contact with the one that you're with. If the one is open to do that at that point, if you have that communication, because you're watchful and you're try to be as present as you can by letting go of your ideas about the situation and just connecting with your inner self. So, and that sounds now like a lot of instruction, but it's more like, no, stay in the mode where you can actually feel. Stay in the mode where you can actually love, and for once in a lifetime, stay out of your normal, what you call normal way of defense. That has grown accustomed to you. Like, no defending is necessary. No, you're gonna just completely make a whole different way a connection with the one that you're with, in a whole different way, if that is possible at that time. So that's what you ask the Holy Spirit for first. But see, if this is your ground attitude, instead of being completely responsive to the forms that are being exposed, like words and feelings and all that, you go beyond it. You go beyond your perception, because that would limit the whole situation. And at the same time, you're very attentive and very much present to just start to open the communication with your brother. So, yeah, I don't know how helpful this is, but I really had to say it. Maybe you have questions about it, please ask them. See, I have an idea about, like, I experience what the difference is in doing that. And it is really like coming in touch with the art of listening more than anything. You start to listen. You start to become meditatively present. And at the same time, you don't miss out on anything. No, actually, you're just ready to take this whole situation with you and let it be changed. And that would make you really a miracle worker in that sense. Okay, so that's that for now. So a little bit more reading, and then we'll start to do some sharing, and because time flies. Okay. So this is chapter 28. We went through that in the Undoing of Fear. The present memory, it's on page 255. So I'll start with B5. It's a bit in the line that we were reading about a moment ago. Remember nothing that you taught yourself, for you were badly taught. Who would keep a senseless lesson in his mind when he can learn and can preserve a better one? When ancient memories of hate appear, remember that their cause is gone, and so you cannot understand what they are for. Let not the cause that you would give them now be what it was that made them what they were or seemed to be. So in that sense, don't bring the past back into this moment by, say, thinking that nothing changed. And that's easier said than done, yeah. See, it's easy for Jesus to say in this book. So it's interesting. It's interesting. So let not the cause that you would give them now be what it was made them, what they were or seemed to be. In other words, let everything be new. Be glad that it is gone, for this is what you would be pardoned from. And see instead the new effects of cause accepted now, with consequences here. See, is another thing that happens then is like the idea of cause and effect. You think that there's a cause that happened and that the effect is still here, right now, even though the thing happened years ago. You think that there's an effect still there. See, and that's what's happening in the awakening. Actually, cause and effect are brought together. They are the same thing. Like when something happens that seems to be like effective to you in terms of you don't like it, there's also the answer or the immediate solution to it is given too. It is just that we let ourselves be taken from it, holding on to the cause and chewing on the effect or postponing the effect and treasuring the effect while it actually is already over and it was resolved. There was an opportunity that it was resolved, just like it will ever be resolved. So in coming together with someone, having an issue on the table, so to speak, seeing that it can be resolved now is then bringing the cause and the effect together and seeing that that doesn't need to be a time delay in it, because we work here like we work with miracles. It's literally collapsing time, collapsing the idea that there's a distance between cause and effect. And that is huge, because if you see that in a different light, it is also bringing together, it's like you as the effect of the cause of God. You're the effect of God. So if you think that you're an effect of something else, you will not experience that you're directly connected to God, because you think those two are apart. You think, yeah, God created me, sure, and one day I will experience that. See, and that's completely normal as a human being or as somebody in a spiritual path to believe that. It's like, that will come one day. And it's like, well, yeah, absolutely. It's really, up to you to see that they are together, that there is no distance between them. And that they literally come together in this moment. So you can postpone that for another 10 years before you think that you are entitled to that experience, or you say, like, the heck with it. If cause and effect are not apart, I must be able to experience that right now. well, there you have your healing moment. So it's like, okay, well, that's very, very direct. That's very confrontative. And that stirs something up in you. Okay, that's all right. Or it doesn't. Maybe you fly right into it. And it's like, oh yeah, I've been waiting for this. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Yeah, I can accept this right now. Isn't that something? Because it's not a part. If God is the cause and you're the effect, there's no separation between the two. It's happening right here and now. See, that's why we always come back to this idea of here and now, because that's literally the moment where everything comes together, all the supposed opposites coming together right here and now. So that's the same then with judging your brother. You can judge your brother in your limited idea about yourself, but it's only that you will have to take another look at it someday. As soon as you think like, okay, I want this to be healed for myself. Well, there's the moment that takes place then. So to stay in a continuous letting go and in a continuous allowing that healing to occur for yourself, you stay right here, and nothing, you don't, like Joel said this too in his tapes, like the idea of karma. It's like that's being undone in the moment. If you keep, say, healing this moment, if you keep bringing this together and not seeing differences and not judging and not comparing and not analyzing and all that. So that's the opportunity for healing. Here is B9. I want to continue with that. The miracle comes quietly into the mind that stops an instant and is still. It reaches gently from that quiet time and from the mind it healed in quiet then, to other minds to share its quietness. And they will join in doing nothing to prevent its radiant extension into the mind with a capital M that caused all minds to be. Born out of sharing, there can be no pause in time to cause the miracle delay in hastening to all unquiet minds and bringing them an instant stillness when the memory of God returns to them. Their own remembering is quiet now, and what has come to take its place will not be wholly unremembered afterwards. Yeah, that is what I mean. That's a beautiful description of what I try to express in terms of how are you present? Well, you're literally allowing this moment to be whole and not seeing any differences, not judging, not doing anything. No, quiet mind, and the light can come, the healing can take place. Because there's not anything else that you want. And you're opening yourself up for the totality of this. And that's how that works. So yeah, it's really great. I love it. Thank you for listening and being in this with me. So you can feel, so there's, like, I bring it close to myself, you can feel there's healing going on when we enter into this. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's an interesting feeling, isn't it? It's like, okay, so can we sink through that? Can we allow this healing to occur for ourselves? Can this be undone in us right now? Can this be undone in me right now? Can any kind of reservation be undone in this moment? Well, that would be so lovely. So yeah, it's really about the practice of this and the application. Being in this moment, letting everything go, being aware of the possibility, having the trust in it too, seeing that you cannot judge and actually feeling okay with that. In the exchange of what is the option, the opportunity for you to experience wholeness and communication. It's like we're talking about the bridge again. You know, we were there a moment ago. You're on the bridge. So the one way you know very well, it's like war zone. Look at that. There's still smoke and fire and noise. And you're halfway the bridge, you don't hear the noise anymore. And you look on something else that is bright and clear, and you recognize as yourself. Like, it's your choice. What do you want? Unbelievable. So before you know it, you're just hurled into it. And that's about to happen. So...